Salut from Paris, Lena.
And Laurent.
And today we will take you on a walk through our neighborhood, which is the 14th and 15th Arrondissement of Paris.
It will start with a walk on the Petite Ceinture. Then we will show you one of the best places to get a banh mi sandwich. Then we're gonna go through our favorite park. And there will be as well cute streets, a lovely entrance, and a lot of train tracks.
And our favorite restaurants.
And bakeries.
And bakeries.
And cheesemongers. Okay.
Cheesemongers.
All these things. Let's go.
We're starting our walk today near the metro station Ballard. It's here where you'll find the entrance to the Petite Ceinture that runs all along the southern edge of the 15th arrondissement. The Petite Ceinture is an old railway belt encircling Paris. It opened in 1852 and became quickly a major transportation line for merchandise and passengers. But when the first Parisian metro started operating in 1900, the passenger numbers started to drop. By 1934, Paris had 12 metro lines and the passenger trains on the Petite Ceinture were no longer viable. As a result, the passenger service was discontinued, but the commercial lines kept running. In the 80s then, the final sections of the line were completely closed. While some tracks are now used by the suburb train RERC, for many years, the Petite Ceinture lay largely abandoned. The section of the Petite Ceinture that we are walking on right now was in use until the 1970s, mostly by the slaughterhouse Vaugirard and the Citroën factory. After the old railway lay abandoned for years, this 1.5 kilometer long section was one of the first to be revived and opened as a public park in 2013. A walkway was installed, but the vegetation that grew during the years of abandonment remained untouched. Thanks to that, you find a very rich biodiversity here, with more than 220 plant and animal species. This urban park is taken care of by the city of Paris and has the usual opening hours that depend on the seasons and closes at night. We approach the end of the Petite Ceinture in the 15th arrondissement. Sometimes you might find the gate at the tunnel back there unlocked, allowing you to continue further down. However, today we're just heading back to street level to continue our walk. To reach the next stop on our walk, we can take the small alley, which actually still belongs to the Petite Ceinture. It can be quite hard to find, so let me walk ahead to show you the way. After the secret passage, let's continue a bit further until you spot a gigantic mural. It's an artwork created by the Parisian street artist Lacroix. You find similar of his iconic urban totems all over Paris. This particular piece took him 3 weeks to finish. And now, here's a fun fact. Despite the change in scenery, you're standing technically still on the Petite Ceinture, with the tracks running right beneath your feet. Keep an eye out for a small marker on the street confirming the exact location. Alright, let's keep moving. We're now entering the south of the Parc Georges Brassens. Right here to the entrance, you'll find another marker, along with a hole in the fence. It's not an official section, as you can imagine, and I assume the whole will be repaired soon, and will likely reappear at another location. It's up to you if you want to take on the adventure. We won't be heading down there today. Instead, let's continue our walk through Parc Georges Brassens. You will find one of the few vineyards of Paris here, the Clos de Morillon. The vineyard has a long history and was cultivated by monks until the 18th century. However, slowly but surely, urbanization took over the area, and by the mid-19th century, the vineyard was gone. When the park was created in the mid-1980s, they revived the viticultural tradition of the neighborhood and recreated the vineyard. Today, the small Clos de Morillon vineyard produces around 300 bottles a year, all auctioned for charity. The Georges Brassens Park used to be the grounds of a slaughterhouse, the Abattoir de Vaugirard, which we mentioned earlier. Instead of tearing everything down when they created the park, they decided instead to keep some of the old buildings that are adding today to the park's charm. Here you can see, for example, the clock tower of the old market where they used to auction off meat. Today, it's where you can find public toilets and enjoy a beautiful view over the pond, which they renovated just recently. In case you're wondering, Georges Brassens was a famous singer, songwriter and poet who died in 1981. During World War II, he hid nearby to avoid being sent to Germany for forced labor, and he's often listed now as one of the most beloved French singers, known for his ribald humor and disdain for authority figures. Here we have the main entrance of the park, where you'll find yet another reminder of its slaughterhouse past. These two bull statues greet you as you enter the park through the northern gate. And if you need a little break, there are a couple of nice cafes and restaurants just across the street from here. But we keep walking and head to the herb garden. And here's another relic from the past, the old market halls, where today you'll find a covered book market on weekends. It's known for mostly antiques, but also comics and all sorts of literature. As we exit the park through the northeastern gate, we encounter another highlight, a Wallace fountain. There are more than 100 of these fountains in Paris that are so typical for the city. The water is safe to drink, by the way. When you walk through the gate, you'll notice two things. First, a horse head. It's again a nod to the past because the grounds were not only a slaughterhouse, but also a horse market. And then, a space invader. If you watched our last video, you know that you find more than 1,500 of these mosaics in Paris. You can collect them by using an app that I will link to you in the description of this video. We're heading north towards Rue Santos-Dumont. Here you'll first notice a row of distinctive houses, all built in the same unique architecture, that sets them quite apart from anything else you find in Paris. Georges Brassens lived here for a while, by the way, in number 42 and 46. As we continue up the street, we stumble upon a very hidden gem, the Villa Santos-Dumont. It's a little cul-de-sac that, funnily, we only discovered when researching for this video. I don't know why we haven't been here before or even noticed this alley, especially as we have cycled by 100 times. But that's so typical Paris. No matter how well you know the city, you discover something new every day. And then, finally, we're stopping for lunch. We decided to get something at Ton Gourmet, an Asian imbiss that we know from the 13th arrondissement where Laurent grew up. For years, it has been our favorite, and we were absolutely thrilled when they opened a shop so close to our house. They are known for their rôtisserie and delicious snacks, but we always end up ordering the same thing, a banh mi sandwich. Undeniable the best that you find in Paris. Our favorite here is a banh mi filled with lemongrass beef, carrots, cucumber, cilantro, and lots of chili. But if cilantro is not your thing, you can leave it out as well. Same goes for the chili. Alright, let's go on. Now we are entering the 14th arrondissement. On Rue Raymond-Losseron, between the metro stations Plaisance and Pernety, you find a range of outstanding food shops. It's one of our favorite streets in the area to buy cheese, pastries, bread and wine and beer and all sorts of yummy things. But we noticed after taking the video that we walked way too fast for you to see anything really. But don't worry, you find our best addresses written down in the description of this video. Very close to the Pernety metro station is a restaurant that we can warmly recommend, L'Entrepôt. They mostly serve French cuisine with international influences, and the menu changes frequently. It is especially lovely during the warmer months because they have a beautiful backyard garden seating area. But it's not only a restaurant, it's also a cinema that broadcasts independent movies and European productions, and from time to time as well live concerts. Let's continue our walk through the neighborhood where you'll find plenty of stores. For example, here's a shop that prides itself on being the best beer shop in Paris. Maybe that comes as a surprise, but in France we drink almost as much beer as wine. In fact, it's a competition every year. Over the past 2 years, beer has won, but in 2024, 60% claimed that they prefer wine. The 14th arrondissement, just like the 15th, is mostly residential, which some might find boring. But for us, it's everything but dull. There are tons of cafes and restaurants and an abundance of specialty stores to explore. For example, Lantern Monkeys. It's an impact-positive bakery where you find all the French classics like pain au chocolat, tarte aux pommes, or even the jambon beurre sandwich, but completely vegan, organic, local, and with zero plastic packaging. The bakery lies on the corner of Rue Thermophile, an alley that is often called one of the cutest streets in Paris. Well, apparently not today, because there are works going on, and even the wisteria, that is in full bloom everywhere else in Paris, is not out yet. But we're not making the mistake to turn around, because at the end of this alley, you find a real gem. Just wait for it. The street we are heading to is called Cité and is one of these hidden streets that you find all over Paris and that are every time a big surprise when you come across one. And here it is, the beautiful portrait we were talking about in the beginning. It was made by French-Hungarian artist Alexandre Mézet, who lived here in the 50s. The words Isten hazad, that you can see written over the smaller heart, mean welcome in Hungarian. And now, let's return to one of the main streets in the 14th Arrondissement, Rue Didot. This street runs more or less parallel to Rue Raymond-Losseron, where we've been earlier. And it's quite similar, a residential area with plenty of food shops, cafes and restaurants. One restaurant that we can recommend in this area is Jéroboam. It's a modern French restaurant offering creative dishes with typical French ingredients. We discovered this restaurant a few years ago and have returned several times since. As we wrap up our walk today, we're back where we began, at the Petite Ceinture, this time in the 14th Arrondissement. This stretch is about a kilometer long and wider than the part we explored earlier in the 15th. Just like everywhere else on the Petite Ceinture, nature thrives here with over 200 plant species and 70 animal species. So it's not just rats. To be fair, this section of the Petite Ceinture may seem a bit rougher than the previous section, but it's still part of the public parks in Paris and is maintained by the city of Paris. It's closed during the night and park guards patrol the area from time to time. You'll be surprised how many people you meet, mostly runners and hikers. As we reach the end of this section, we come to the old Montrouge Ceinture train station. Today, it's a hotspot for street artists, and you might even see them at work. The old train station building has been transformed into a restaurant and bar, and has also a very nice beer garden. But we arrived during the break. Luckily, there's no shortage on nice terraces, so we found another one to end our video.